Hey guys, Holden here from HMOB Fitness. Today, since I am recovering, I want to kind of talk about different recovering techniques and what the fastest and most efficient way is to recover. If it's from a sports injury, surgery, pretty much anything, but more along the lines of a sports injury. So, let's say you tear a muscle, tendon, etc. The most important thing is to be cautious of what you did and how you're going to stay off of it. So, for example, with my foot right now, my goal is to try and stay off of it because, when you don't apply that pressure to that area, it'll allow more blood flow to go in there and it won't be affected by external forces that would further prolong the recovery process. So let's say you tore a muscle, okay? So what I would do is first off, you always want to get it iced first. I think that's a good rule of thumb for any sort of injury. Obviously, if it's really bad, probably want to go see a doctor and stay off of it. But more importantly, you really want to try and ice it because ice does a lot of miracles. It reduces that inflammation. It kind of lessens the swelling, all that sort of stuff. So I would always go with icing. Icing is always my first thing. Just no matter what, icing's good. Stay away from heat. I mean, maybe if you did something in your back, maybe apply heat to just kind of loosen up the muscles. But if it's like a strain, don't do any sort of heat because that'll just kind of promote that inflammation. Because heat, all the histamines, all those will kind of go to that area. Secondly, let's talk about stretching. So I've heard stories where they'll tear something, especially like a tendon, and they'll stretch it immediately because they're thinking they're injured. If you stretch out a muscle, relax it a little bit. That's not true because think about it. If you strain or even rupture a tendon, tendons are at the ends of muscles. Okay, and the majority of injuries occur at the eccentric part of a movement. Okay, so eccentric is the lengthening of a muscle. Okay, so when you're doing a bicep curl, the eccentric portion is, let me do this really, is down. Okay, because you're lengthening that movement. Concentric is closer, eccentric is out. Okay, so what people do is they'll stretch it. Well, you just injured yourself from that eccentric movement, which is the stretching aspect of it. So the worst thing you could do is stretch a muscle when you rupture a tendon or a muscle, because that motion is what actually caused the injury. The eccentric. Rarely is it concentric. Concentric is shortening of the muscle. So like I said, a bicep curl, eccentric is when you're lengthening it. Okay, so from there, let's say you iced, you're not stretching. Well, you could see a doctor or a physical therapist. I would see a physical therapist. Honestly, I mean, I think they know a lot more of the sports-related injuries. They understand ranges of motion. And if you have limited range of motion in certain areas, they can pinpoint. Maybe they can't pinpoint the exact injury. However, they can tell you your range of motion and assume certain injuries. So I'd first, if you really don't know what happened, go see a physical therapist. And then from there, they can maybe guide you to a correct doctor that can give you certain maybe medications or so forth. Okay, so let's say you got it all figured out. Let's say you tore your quadricep. Okay, so you've been to a physical therapist, went to a doctor for some medication. Next, what I'd do is first off, I would go home and do the icing, elevation, compression, the rice technique. And then from there, I would try and schedule back with a physical therapist to try and get you into some rehab, assuming that you don't need any surgery. Okay, and usually, sometimes, majority of the time, if you have a tear, not like a huge tear, but if you just have a partial tear in the muscle, resting and rehab will do the deed. So, let's say you have a minor muscle tear in your quad. Next thing I would do is go to a physical therapist, try and get on some rehab program. So when you go to rehab, the first thing is always the physical therapist is going to get you in the range of motion first. Okay, that's always the first thing. They're never going to go strength first. It's always range of motion. Okay, so what you're going to be doing is some light stretching, myofascial releasing techniques, and obviously they're going to do the ice, that sort of thing. But never are they going to put you on a squatting machine or a leg press to get those quads working right away. But what they will do is range of motion. Okay, so let's say you've been through that for a week or two. Then from there they will probably start putting you through a strength program. And strength program, I don't mean 300-pound squats, that sort of thing. Quad lifts, maybe some hamstring exercises, a lot of glute stuff primarily, to really make sure that quad tear won't happen again, because usually people have very weak glutes, and that promotes knee complications. So once you get in the strength issue, then you can really kind of take things in your own matter. But it's really important, guys, to not overdo anything. Excuse me. Not overdo anything. Especially with like a tear or that. You really need to take it slowly. Okay. So what was I gonna say? So after you go see a physical therapist, that sort of stuff, you can take things in your own matter. And the really important thing about rehab in general is how proactive you are about it. If you're just one of those guys that goes to physical therapy and then never does his exercises at home, then you're not going to get better, and it's going to be a real mental struggle. Because take like a Derrick Rose, for example. He did a good job of taking the correct amount of time, so when he played basketball again, he would have full recovery, and it wouldn't be a mental game about, I'm going to tear my ACL again, that sort of thing. So same thing applies for physical therapy. You got to really be in it mentally and really want to try and get better, but that doesn't mean to overdo it. However, you need to stay on the program type. Okay. So let's say you did all physical therapy, ice, blah blah blah. The most important thing is rest, guys. Is you gotta stay off the area. You gotta sleep a lot, and really a really important component of recovery is your nutrition as well. You can't be frail and not eat anything. You really gotta feed your body nutrients. That's very important, guys. What I do is I always take like a multivitamin when I have some sort of complication, like a surgery or something, because I just want to make sure my body is getting all the nutrients it needs. Because usually I won't eat as much because I'm not working out. My metabolism isn't boosted or anything. I try and eat really good foods, try and get my meat in there to get protein. Protein fuels those, the regeneration process. Make sure I'm drinking a lot of water. And I'll take some supplements, maybe some like zinc and magnesium, because zinc is important for healing. I'll drink, I'll try and get into like the medicinal type and drink like green tea, that sort of stuff. But besides sleeping, which is important, you also really need to focus on your nutrition. And obviously it's okay to eat bad food, but importantly, it's more important that you're eating food. That's what's really important is you're eating food because you just don't want to starve your body of nutrition. Okay, so yeah, just an overview. Ice it, rest, eat well. Go to professional physical therapists to really get that figured out. And what else? And just be motivated about it. Injury can set people back mentally, more importantly, I think. So it's just important that you're engaged and you want to get better. So, guys, those are my little tips on recovering. But I think the most important thing is that you're proactive while you're doing any sort of activity, so you don't risk injury. Okay? Thanks, guys. See ya.